All rise.
The Kosovo Specialist Chambers is now in session.
Please be seated. Good morning and welcome everyone. Before we start, I kindly invite the photographer to enter the courtroom and take photographs for 1.5 minutes. Is the photographer? Yeah. Madam Photographer, you may take pictures of the courtroom and the participants. Thank you, Madam Photographer. Madam Court Officer, could you please call the case?
Good morning, Your Honor. This is file KSC BC 2023-10, the Specialist Prosecutor versus Sabit Januzi&Bahtijari&H.Shala.
Thank you, Court Officer. Before asking those present in the courtroom to introduce themselves, let me remind everyone a few important rules to be observed during the hearing. Please make sure you activate your microphone before speaking and you switch it off as soon as you finish. Talk slowly and clearly, as we have interpretation from and into Albanian and Serbian. Wait 5 seconds before responding to me or a party or participant in order to allow the interpreters to finish. Now, I would kindly ask the parties to introduce themselves, starting with the Specialist Prosecutor's Office.
Good morning, Your Honor. For the Specialist Prosecutor's Office, present we have Specialist Prosecutor Kimberly West, Lena Peterson, Case Manager, Joshua Hafetz, Prosecutor, and myself, Tasneen Shahabuddin, Prosecutor.
Thank you, Madam Prosecutor. Now the defense, please, starting with the defense for Mr. Januzi. Counsel, may I ask you to also introduce your client, please?
Thank you, Your Honour. My name is Hugh Bowden, co-counsel. Mr. Jonathan Rees-King's counsel is specialist counsel, and present in court is Mr. Sabit Januzi.
Thank you. Now for the defense of Mr. Bahtijari. Counsel, could you please likewise introduce yourself and your client?
Good morning, Your Honour, and to everyone in and outside this courtroom. My name is Felicity Gerry. I'm here online as specialist counsel for Mr. Bahtijari, and Mr. Bahtijari is with you in court.
Thank you, counsel. I finally turn to the registry.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, colleagues. Jonas Nilsson, Deputy Registrar. I'm here together with legal counsel Whitney Price, representing registry today. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, for the record, I'm Marjorie Messalot, pretrial judge for this case. Before we begin, allow me to recall the most important and relevant procedural steps in this case that have brought us to the courtroom today. On the 4th of October 2023, the Specialist Prosecutor's Office filed the indictment against Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari as confirmed by the pretrial judge, namely the Case 10 confirmed indictment. On 6th of November 2023, the Specialist Prosecutor's Office filed the indictment against H.Shala as confirmed by the pretrial judge, namely the Case 11 confirmed indictment. On the 8th of February 2024, the pretrial judge granted the request of the Specialist Prosecutor's Office to join the case of the Specialist Prosecutor versus Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari, Case 10, with the case of the Specialist Prosecutor versus Mr. Shala, Case 11. The pretrial judge also decided that the joint case would proceed on the basis of the Case 10 confirmed indictment and Case 11 confirmed indictment, pending a request to amend the charge of intimidation under Count 3 of the Case 10 confirmed indictment against Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari. On the 27th of February 2024, the Specialist Prosecutor's Office filed a request to amend Case 10 confirmed indictment. Therein, the Specialist Prosecutor's Office thought an amendment consisting of adding for both Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari the promise of a gift or any other form of benefit, limb of intimidation during criminal proceedings under Article 387 of the 2019 Criminal Code of Kosovo, and the factual allegations in support thereof. On the 17th of May 2024, the pretrial judge decided that the amendment thought by the Specialist Prosecutor's Office amounted to a new charge and noted that it only concerned Mr. Januzi and Mr. Bahtijari, since the same charge had already been confirmed against Mr. Shala. The pretrial judge thus invited the defense of Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari to make submissions on the amendment. On 8th of July 2024, following assignment of this case, I issued the decision on the confirmation of amendments to the indictment and related matters, in which I confirmed the amendment. Moreover, I ordered the Specialist Prosecutor's Office to file by 10th of July 2024 a joint indictment against the 3 co-accused in this case. Last but not least, I convened the present further appearances for both Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari in accordance with Rules 93 and 92 of the Rules. On 10th of July 2024, the Specialist Prosecutor's Office filed a joint indictment. As regards today's further appearances, allow me to recall their purpose for the benefit of Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari. Today's hearing, as you know, is not a trial. As such, evidence will neither be presented nor debated. I also stress that the guilt or innocence of the accused will not be discussed or decided. The very purpose of these further appearances is regulated by Article 39 of the law and Rules 90 and 92 of the Rules, according to which I shall, in relation to each accused, have the new charge in the joint indictment read to the accused, confirm that the accused understands the new charge, satisfy myself that the rights of the accused are respected, and inform the accused that within 30 days of today's hearing, they will be called upon to admit guilt or plead not guilty on the new charge set out in the joint indictment. However, if any of the accused wishes to do so, he may immediately admit guilt or plead not guilty. Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari, before the court officer reads the respective new confirmed charges against each of you, I wish to remind you that this is not the time to contest this new charge, but simply to acknowledge your respective understanding thereof. You will have the opportunity to challenge this new charge with the assistance of your respective counsel. Mr. Januzi, now may I ask you to confirm that you have received the joint indictment dated 10th of July 2024 in a language that you understand and speak, namely Albanian, and I kindly ask you to stand up before you respond.
Po nderuara gjykatëse.
Yes, Your Honor, I have received it. I received it yesterday.
Thank you. I will now ask the court officer to read out the new charge against you contained in the joint indictment as foreseen in Article 39 of the law and Rule 92.
Thank you, Your Honor. In the joint indictment, the specialist prosecutor adds the following charge against Mr. Sabit Januzi. Count 3, intimidation during criminal proceedings by way of a promise of a gift or any other form of benefit, namely by offering to help to witness 1 if he agreed to withdraw his testimony in ongoing proceedings before the specialist chambers, punishable under Article 387 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code and Article 15.2 of the law. This offence was committed between 5 and 12 April 2023. In relation to this offence, there is a well-grounded suspicion that Mr. Sabit Januzi is criminally responsible pursuant to Article 16.3 of the law for A, committing this offence under Count 3 pursuant to Article 17 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code, B, co-perpetrating with Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari and Mr. H.Shala this offence under Count 3 pursuant to Article 31 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code, C, assisting in the commission of this offence under Count 3 pursuant to Article 33 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code, and or D, agreeing to commit with Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari and Mr. H.Shala this offence under Count 3 pursuant to Article 35 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Mr. Januzi, do you understand the new charge against you contained in the joint indictment as just read out to you by Madam Court Officer?
Po kuptoj.
Yes, I do understand that.
Thank you, Mr. Januzi. You may be seated. Mr. Bahtijari, I will not now
Your
turn...
Honour, I'm sorry, I have my hand up. I wonder if I might make a small submission before you speak to Mr. Bahtijari, please.
But maybe we should first read the charges to your client and then you can make a submission?
It's relevant before you read it. If I might just explain, I'd be very grateful.
I give you the floor, counsel.
I'm very grateful, thank you. He has not received the indictment in physical form because he has difficulty with the SEDS system, but he has had the amendment explained to him by me. So when you ask the question, have you received the indictment, he has not received it physically, but he has heard the indictment in his own language. I hope that's helpful.
All right, thank you, counsel. Does the registry wish to make observation on?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Bahtijari received the indictment yesterday afternoon, later, maybe after counsel has spoken to him. So that's maybe the explanation. Thank you.
Very grateful, thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Deputy Registrar. Mr. Bahtijari, so could you confirm that you have received the new charge?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, I have received it. Yes, true. I have received that in Albanian.
I will now also ask the court officer to read out this new charge against you as foreseen in Article 39 of the law and Rule 92.
In the joint indictment, the specialist prosecutor adds the following charge against Mr. Ismet Bahtijari. Count 3, intimidation during criminal proceedings by way of a promise of a gift or any other form of benefit, namely by offering help to witness 1 if he agreed to withdraw his testimony in ongoing proceedings before the specialist chambers, punishable under Article 387 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code and Article 15(2) of the law. This offence was committed between 5 and 12 April 2023. In relation to this offence, there is a well-grounded suspicion that Mr. Ismet Bahtijari is criminally responsible pursuant to Article 16(3) of the law for A. Co-perpetrating with Mr. Sabit Januzi and Mr. H.Shala this offence under Count 3, pursuant to Article 31 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. B. Assisting in the commission of this offence under Count 3, pursuant to Article 33 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. And or C. Agreeing to commit with Mr. Sabit Januzi and Mr. H.Shala this offence under Count 3 pursuant to Article 35 of the 2019 Kosovo Criminal Code. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Court Officer. Mr. Bahtijari, do you understand this new charge as read out to you by Madam the Court Officer?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Bahtijari, you may be seated. Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari, your main rights before this court, as guaranteed by the law on the specialist chambers and the rules of procedure and evidence, have been read to you during your respective initial appearance on the 9th of October 2023. Still, let me recall some of them. First, you shall be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond reasonable doubt. In the determination of the charges against you, you are entitled to a fair and public hearing, subject to any measures ordered for the protection of victims and witnesses. You may have the right to be informed promptly and in detail in a language which you understand, of the nature and cause of the charges against you. You have the right to have adequate time and facilities for the preparation of your defense and to communicate with the counsel of your own choosing. You have the right to be tried within a reasonable time. You have the right to be tried in your presence and to defend yourself through your counsel. And I take note that you are respectively represented by counsel, and I'm thus satisfied that both accused are presently represented by counsel. You have the right to have the free assistance of an interpreter if you cannot understand or speak the language used in the court. You have the right not to be compelled to testify against yourself or to admit guilt. You have the right to remain silent, and no adverse inference shall be drawn from your silence. You have the right to lodge preliminary motions in relation to the new charge contained in the joint indictment. You have the right to receive the supporting material to the amended indictment submitted for confirmation. You have the right not to be detained for an unreasonable period prior to the opening of the case, to request review of decisions on your detention, and to appeal such decisions directly before the Court of Appeal. And you have the right to appeal either directly or through the certification process as provided for under the rules. I will now turn to I will now turn to the possibility of the accused to enter a plea, if any, in accordance with Rule 92. Mr. Januzi, I first turn to you. Could you please stand up? Within 30 days from today, you will be called upon to admit guilt or plead not guilty on this new charge in the joint indictment. If you wish to do so, you may choose to immediately admit guilt or plead not guilty. I would therefore like to ask you, Mr. Januzi, if you have had the opportunity to discuss this new charge with your counsel, and if you are prepared to enter a plea at this time.
Po, e kam përgatitur me advokatin.
Well, I have discussed this over with my counsel, and I wish to express myself right now about it.
You have the floor.
Pra, siç jam
As I have already stated in the first hearing, that I am not guilty for any of the counts of the indictment, I again wish to say that I plead not guilty for every count in the amended indictment.
Thank you, Mr. Januzi. This is on the record. You may be seated.
Again, Your Honour, may I briefly interrupt before you turn to Mr. Bahtijari, please?
You have the floor, counsel.
Very grateful. Mr. Bahtijari, I anticipate, will give the same response. He will wish to say not guilty. He sometimes needs support in the process of the court, so I'm interrupting just out of an excess of caution to make sure he knows this is the moment at which he is going to say he is not guilty of this charge. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. I will indeed now turn to you, Mr. Bahtijari. Could you please stand up? So you also have the possibility to enter a plea, if any, in accordance with Rule 92. Within 30 days from today, you will be called upon to admit guilt or plead not guilty on this new charge. If you wish to do so, you may choose to immediately admit guilt or plead not guilty. I would therefore like to ask you, Mr. Bahtijari, if you have had the opportunity to discuss the new charge with your counsel, and if you are prepared to enter a plea at this time, and you heard what your counsel just shared. So I guess you had a discussion previously, but I give you the floor to respond to that question, and you have the floor.
I plead not guilty for any of the charges in the indictment.
You may be seated. So at this point, I would like to ask the parties whether they have any other issues strictly related to today's further appearance of Mr. Januzi&Bahtijari that they would like to raise. Councillor.
Your Honour, only really in relation to the follow-on timetable from the amended and shortened timetable regarding preliminary motions, whether Your Honour wishes to address the pre-trial brief date or whether that is something that Your Honour will deal with in due course.
The pre-trial brief?
Yes.
You want to make some observation on that matter?
It was previously set and thereafter amended by Your Honour with regard to the decision that was pending and of course has now been given. That thereafter follows that there will be potential challenge to that indictment. It would be submitted that it would be sensible, therefore, for any pre-trial brief to be perhaps 7 days after any final determination following on from the preliminary motions.
Right. I mean, indeed, the deadline was set to the 15th of July,
Correct,
as you just mentioned, 7 days after the notification of the amendment decision. may I also recall that this deadline was actually ordered upon the request of
It was.
Mr. Januzi. So concretely, would you like to, what is your
Well,
today's request?
That followed the observation that, of course, we didn't know what the final indictment would be. And Your Honour agreed, pending Your Honour's decision. Of course, there are dates for preliminary motions to be timetabled, and they have been timetabled by Your Honour, which may affect ultimately, of course, what the trial indictment will be. And until that trial indictment is finally known, as a result of any decisions that will be given, should preliminary motions be made and considered, it's submitted that it would only follow logical sense for the pre-trial brief to await those final decisions of Your Honour.
What, I mean, concretely, are you requesting an extension of time for such submissions?
Yes.
Okay, so let's put it straight.
Sorry, yes, yeah. So the pre-trial brief, it would be submitted, should be following the timetable that's been set, following any final decision or final determination that's been made in respect of those preliminary motions, and it would be suggested that 7 days thereafter from that final determination would be a sensible date for the pre-trial brief. It would not appear that this will set back any ultimate timetabling of trial or transmission of case, bearing in mind where we are and bearing in mind the forthcoming recess, of course. It would be, if it follows the timetable, depending upon any decisions of Your Honour, that a pre-trial brief would probably be set back by 28 days.
Well, I would, Counsel Jerry, do you wish to make any observation on this?
Sorry, no, I'm just waiting my turn for once you've finished with Mr. Bowden.
All right. For the prosecutor's office, would you have any observation on that request?
No, Your Honor, I don't think that the Specialist Prosecutor's Office takes a position as to this request.
All right. Well, then I would simply suggest, or invite you rather, to make a written filing on this issue, and a decision will be issued in due course.
Of course, Your Honour.
Counsel Jerry, I understood that you also have some observation.
Simply to say that, as Your Honour knows, Mr. Bahtijari has a family meeting today when he meets his new grandchild, so we're rather keen to go. So if we hope that we can make any submissions in writing in a way that you've just indicated to Mr. Bowden. Nothing else to add.
All right. Any other observation from any other party? No. So before we conclude today's hearing, let me thus indeed recall the date of for the filing of the preliminary motions in relation to the new charge contained in the joint indictment, which was set for Friday, the 19th of July, 2024. And I would like to ask the defense for Mr. Januzi and Mr. Bahtijari whether they are already in a position to state whether they intend to file preliminary motions in relation to this new charge.
On behalf of Mr. Januzi, yes.
Well noted.
On behalf of Mr. Bahtijari, we haven't made a final decision yet. We perhaps would like to see the submissions on behalf of Mr. Januzi first.
All right. Well, as this information you just provided may have an impact on the date of the transmission of the case, decision on the remaining calendar of the case will be issued in due course. This concludes this hearing. I wish to thank the parties and the registry for their attendance. I also wish to thank the interpreters, stenographers, audiovisual technicians, and security personnel for their assistance. The hearing is now adjourned. Thank you.
All rise.